This is Jaren speaking, and today we're talking with the beautiful, the wonderful Jessica Paulin, and you can find her on Instagram as Jessica Paulination, on Facebook as Art of Jessica Paulin, or on Patreon. You can check that out. Maybe become a patron of hers, and she's at Jessica Paulin Art. If you're feeling it and you're able to, she's open to commissions and loves to do art for musicians, really anybody that needs something for their project. And with that, here's our conversation with Jessica Paulin.
Welcome to the House of I podcast with your host Daniel and
Jaren.
Today our guest is the wonderful and amazing Jessica Paulin.
That's me.
What's up, Jess? How's it going?
Going pretty good.
Already starting with the whispers. So, you recently did artwork for us. You did the art for our single Mi Vida, and I'm curious because I don't really know, but where did you get the inspiration for the silhouette, the detail in the middle, all that stuff? Where did you get that inspiration, first of all?
Well, I figured since I'm going to be in the music video, it would make sense to tie my, since I'm in the music video, make it my silhouette to have like a connection to the single art and the music video. So, and I wanted it to be sort of vague enough so that if you saw the music video, you might tie the two, but if you're just seeing the single art, it's a standalone thing. So, and as for the stuff on the inside of the silhouette, I know that sometimes my thoughts can be kind of disjointed and it's chaotic, and I feel life is chaotic since the song is Mi Vida. I wanted it to encompass a lot of the things and themes that I deal with in everyday life.
Right. Okay. So so were you kind of like, besides the fact that you were basing it off your life, were you also kind of listening to the music and saying there's a point in the song where it kind of gets crazy? Like, not super crazy, but I guess there's a lot going on. Like, was that also kind of a driving force in as well?
Yeah, a little bit, because in the silhouette, there's a little drawing of a goblet with an eyeball in it, and it's being tipped out, and there's like shit coming out of it. So, yeah.
That's cool. That's the thing that most people that I've shown, they're like, damn, this is super detailed, and that must have taken a long time for her to come up with. And I don't know. I don't know how difficult or easy that is to do, but
it depends on what it is. Like, for that, I don't tend to like you're supposed to like have a sketch all figured out before you start a painting. I don't do that. I'll have like a general idea. Sometimes I'll just have like a sentence of like a phrase that I want to go with, and I just figure it out as I'm doing it.
A phrase? What do you mean exactly by that?
Like for this one, I had like Victorian silhouette stuff inside the silhouette, and that was just the idea that I had. So like when I had my actual finished like trim sketched out my silhouette, and then I figured out what I was going to do from there on.
So how long did it take you to come up with the actual detail inside of it? Was it a long
like
process?
a day.
A day?
Yeah.
Damn. That's a long time, I feel.
Yeah.
Like, just sitting there going meticulously through it.
Well, I was working on a bunch of stuff on top of that. So I painted the silhouette. I painted it purple, and I painted the background, and then I painted the spikes and stuff like that. And I was like switching in between working on the silhouette and the background, and in between when I had an idea for the stuff on inside the silhouette, I would do a little bit.
Right. So the spike stuff that you're referring to, was that at all kind of an inspiration from the Rugrats kind of thing?
Well, I was trying, I guess maybe kind of a little bit, because I was trying to do something 80s inspired. I know like Rugrats is like 90s, but it still has like that spiky,
title card?
Yeah,
like
it's like that early 90s kind of vibe,
yeah,
you know?
it's like a blur in between.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, if you think about it too, so like the background, the purple, and then it's got almost confetti in it, like that white confetti inside, and then it's just got like those, you know, those 80 colors or 90s colors in it, which is funny. No, that's what I thought when I first saw it, for example.
When I was painting it, I forget what the spikes, or no, the blobs, because there's spikes and then there's blobs underneath it. It was just the blobs at first, and it looked exactly like the Scooby-Mobile, the Scooby-Doo Mystery Mobile.
Yeah, the Mystery Machine.
Yeah. It looked exactly like Scooby-Doo, so I had to redo it.
That's cool. No, that's dope. No, it came out so good, and I think it's the perfect piece of art to go with the idea that we had for the song.
Yeah. So
we were really happy that we know you, and obviously you've done work for, you know, for my other project and whatnot, which is hanging up there on the wall. But so okay, I don't really know too much about your background per se.
mysterious.
Mysterious.
It's for the best.
So
My dark anime origin story.
and today's Halloween too, right? So let's get spooky in here. So where are you from exactly?
Well, I'm from Spring Hill, which is like an hour away from Tampa, but I was born in Indiana, but I don't know what Indiana even really is. So
You were born in Indiana and moved like as soon as you were born over here, or?
just about, like, I moved from Indiana to Florida when I was 10 months old. My family's not from Indiana, too. Like, none of my family is from Indiana. I was just
Where are they from?
Florida.
Oh, really?
Yeah, my family, there's like family history, and they were escaping the family to go to Indiana, just a fresh start, and then they're like, it's cold. So they moved back.
Yeah, fuck that shit. Let's go back to the nice weather. So you came back from Indiana to Tampa, basically. Oh, to Spring Hill, rather.
Spring Hill.
Okay.
Well, I guess Wiki Watchy, then Spring Hill.
Oh,
Which is like, they're like neighbors.
And then when did you start doing artistic things or drawing per se?
Probably my first memory is drawing. I remember like I loved the Powerpuff Girls, and I would draw little baby fan art with the Powerpuff Girls.
Really?
Yeah.
How early was that?
Like 2, 3.
Really?
So like literally as soon as I could do that, I was doing that.
There's a mural that she had on her bedroom wall,
Yeah.
and I'll put it up in post, but it's so detailed, and she was just a kid
Really?
when she made it. Yeah,
Yeah.
like just a big wall piece.
I painted it started off with an octopus, and the octopus had like a little popsicle in its tentacle. And I'm like, I want this to be an actual scene going on here. So I painted a big squid with a hoard of candy in its popsicle, and there's like a pursuit going on.
That's
cute.
cool. That's fucking amazing.
Yeah.
Wait, so I guess at an early age then, was it just kind of like you were drawing things that you were seeing in person or whatever? Is that what it was? Or like, were you coming up with any ideas just from the top of the dome or anything like that?
Mostly at the top of the dome, because like I guess it's kind of similar to what I do now, because like I'll have an idea and I'll go and seek out reference images for it, and it's not completely unrealistic a lot of the time, but I do like riff a lot. Like, so like when I was drawing as a kid, I would try my best to draw like a cartoony person or something, but with my own things added to it.
Right.
So like when I was a kid, I did like a series of these like fashion girls, and they were like walking their pets. So some of them were walking a dog, or some of them were walking like a pet tortoise or something. And they had their astrological sign next to it, and I only knew like 3, so all of them were like Virgo or Scorpio or
Always animals though.
yeah, I love
Animals,
animals.
like through line through your whole.
You love
Yeah.
animals, yeah. I could
do.
tell that. So, did you at any point then did you actually, because it sounds like you kind of just taught yourself how to draw just through doing it. Did you go at some point, I'm going to, I guess, kind of maybe try and learn how to do it from a school or something like that, or maybe proper training or whatever?
Well, in school, I always like you get to have electives, so I would always choose to have an artistic elective, if any type, if I could get it.
Of course.
So I had like art teachers that throughout my life, but I also went to USF and graduated like last year for art.
Were you one of the best students at drawing in school? You can say, yeah. You can be honest.
Yes.
That's okay, dude. It's so funny because obviously art is, it's all subjective, but there is a talent involved. There's a difference between being really good at something, being able to maybe redo a piece or something like that and do it perfectly, or do it shittily. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't like the idea of sometimes during critiques there is this, it's so subjective, and it really depends on the teacher that you get. Like, some teachers will really love you and some will be not enthusiastic whatsoever. Like, there's this one guy that I know, and I won't mention his name in case he doesn't want to be mentioned, but like,
he listens to this podcast.
Yeah, I know. We're super famous. But
listening with bated breath right now.
But he's like incredible. He does stuff so like basically photorealistically, but because of the themes and the types of stuff that he paints, like certain teachers just didn't like him.
Really?
But he is objectively so talented, but some teachers just are like, fuck you.
Yeah. It's funny how in art in general, because I think it's both for music and for painting, for example, or drawing, how sometimes there's more of a coolness factor rather than how good the actual thing is.
Yeah.
You get what I mean? So whether it be technical, if it's like super technical, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's the coolest thing per se, or the most popular thing per se.
Exactly. It's impressive, but sometimes, sometimes you just want something goofy or something nonsensical or something that you could not take a photo of.
Right.
Yeah.
Are you a believer in you should know all the rules in order to break them?
I think you should know some rules, but there's some really amazing artists that have no formal training, have never even stepped foot inside a museum. They can't tell you another artist's name, and they make awesome stuff. So I think intuition is the most important thing with being an artist. Like, you can learn a lot of stuff, you can have the intellect to learn things, but if you don't have the intuition and the passion to do it, and it sounds kind of corny, but the passion to do it,
corny.
Then it doesn't matter. Because a lot of artists know a lot of things, but sometimes it's not very good.
Yeah, their stuff isn't the best. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that it's comparable to music as well, where just because you know how to read music or you might be able to rip on an instrument doesn't necessarily mean that you make good music yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's always kind of like the take that the Beatles seem to have, where we didn't learn how to read music, we just created music that we thought was the best.
Yeah, and through doing that, they have the ear for it, and they have just talent from doing it for several decades, that they would unintentionally do stuff that is sort of canonized throughout music. So certain chord progressions or stuff like that.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So early on then, or rather, when did you, or have you even, trying to think of the question, and I got it here. Did you start looking to maybe established artists and taking, I guess, notes from them at an early age, or have you done that at all, for example?
I only really started doing that when I was in high school. When I was a little kid, you're just sort of having fun. I always knew I wanted to be an artist, but just want to have fun. But when you're in high school, things start to get more serious. So like when in high school, I was really into the artist Kelly McKernan, and she's a watercolor artist. She paints a lot of women, and she has like an Art Nouveau ethereal style, and if you look at my artwork during that time, it looks pretty similar.
Okay. So she inspired you.
Yeah. And I think that was sort of like the groundwork of like the frame from which I went on, because I still do kind of similar things. Like I like painting and drawing like a feminine form more than anything else really. And I still like the Art Nouveau style is so beautiful. I love it. So, but it's very different from when I was in high school.
Right.
Yeah.
It's I think for myself, when I started playing an instrument, I was going off of things I was listening to at the time. So, for example, the Beatles, right? Like my first song was Day Tripper, was the first thing I learned how to play or whatever. And also the Mario theme song as well.
Of course.
It's a rite of
Of
passage.
course.
So that's kind of a difference, because it wasn't like I picked up an instrument like let's say for example the guitar. I didn't pick the guitar up and just start trying to play something I didn't know. So it was kind of different, where you started painting just out of fun, basically, out of you can almost say out of necessity, rather than I'm seeing art that I enjoy and I want to kind of try and do a similar thing. You know what I mean?
I think that's interesting, because I think it sort of like that's like a signal for like a wider phenomenon, because like music is considered more of like everybody likes music, but sometimes you meet people who are like, I hate art. I don't get art. Nope, don't like it.
That's a good point.
I hate modern art. They label everything modern art, even though it's like just because it's like weird and confusing doesn't mean it's modern art.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you mean though, like literally drawn things that are drawn, or visual art is what you mean? Like, cause.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Because
strange.
everyone likes music for the most part, and I think it's more like socially accepted, you know what I mean?
Right.
More, whereas like people feel so alienated from like certain art and artistic practices. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel like there's not the same kind of avenue for drawn or like visual art as there is music, right? Because most people listen to the radio, for example, or whatever, let's say streaming playlist, blah blah blah, and that's the way that they get their music. And to me, obviously a lot of that is not great, and there's not really a medium like that. Like I feel like
Art is so elitist.
right, exactly.
It's exclusionary.
It's a niche. It's almost like a
and
niche.
Yeah, it's by design too. Like it's a cool kids club. And if you don't know X, Y, and Z, then yeah.
It's a place
they're
for
not-
graduate students to
Honestly.
admire things.
Like yeah, look how many grants I got.
But
I had a
I got
question,
this show this week.
that's kind of related to this.
Yeah.
What's your favorite and least favorite parts of professional art? Being a professional artist.
My favorite part is getting excited about a new idea and doing it and having it be my own thing, And my least favorite part is having to be your manager, your marketer, your like everything all by yourself. You have to produce product for something that shouldn't be product, you know what I mean? Like it feels so commercialized, like it's a commodity. And yeah,
it
it sucks.
I think we all three of us would agree with that sentiment, because by doing what we're doing, for example, we're putting a lot of energy into marketing ourselves rather than actually creating
Yeah.
the thing that we do the best.
Yeah, because you guys have to make like T-shirts and stuff like that. Not that you don't. I don't know if you dislike making T-shirts, but still, it's like time spent outside of writing music and producing the music and like playing shows and stuff like
Right.
that. And like making T-shirts and selling them is your main way to get money.
Right.
Truth.
Yeah, it's
Same with like art and prints. Like I don't like making prints. I don't like doing that,
Yeah.
but I do it.
Yeah, it's
What-
part of the game.
I actually don't even know what that means. What exactly does that mean?
Like
making prints?
say like your single art that I made for you, if I wanted to sell it to somebody, or if even if you guys wanted to sell it to somebody,
Right.
you'd have to take a good picture of it or scan it and then print it on nice paper and maybe make an edition of it. So like an edition is like you only print 50 of them.
I like
So-
that idea actually.
There you go.
It's like that's actually a good
It's
idea.
the most accessible way to sell the art because the original is going to cost obviously much more because
Yeah.
you know, all the time was spent on it.
Yeah, but like a print, depending on like the type of print and the quality of it, it can be like I've seen prints as little as like $20.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and people have $20. They don't have $500.
Yeah.
Right.
So
That's interesting. Yeah, it's something that I've grown to be okay with rather than hate it because it's more of an understanding that it needs to be done.
yeah,
And if it's not done, then I won't be able to get to that point where I can kind of stop doing it, you know, like myself. I can just have someone else do it for us, for example.
yeah,
And having Jaren and Ellie help, you know, now has been super, you know, it's just been great because I can spend more time doing other things than focusing on all that stuff that I was before, which is super
See, that's
stressful.
a cool thing though. Like with being in a band, you have
Right.
more hands to
That's
do
right.
things.
Yeah, you're doing it by yourself.
A solo artist though,
Yeah.
Right.
I try and help you as much as I can, but
and
yeah,
you're very
it's
helpful.
hard.
It's very hard. It's like, yeah, you have to learn so many different things just to do this one thing successfully.
Yeah. My follow-up was about Instagram and your relationship to it.
Yeah.
What do you think about Instagram?
I think yeah,
It's essential, right?
it's very essential. It's such a visual form that if you don't do it and you're an artist, you're like, I don't know how else you would gain an audience at all. Especially as like a new and upcoming artist, you know what I
Right.
mean? Like, not that people don't do it without it, but you would have to have some great karma.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, hopefully, because I think the niche, for example, of doing art for other artists like ourselves, I think that's a cool niche to kind of get your name out there, which is something that obviously you're already working with us. You know, hopefully in the future, other people reach out to you as well.
Yeah, I love working with musicians.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they're already creative. They already understand, like, their time is money and what goes into maybe not necessarily making artwork, but they understand that there's a process involved,
Mhm.
and yeah. Usually they come up with really cool ideas too.
Right.
Yeah, they don't just want like a pet portrait.
Yeah. Yeah, like, yeah, well, the art, the art, like the artwork for me, Vida, was kind of that was all your inception. It was just kind of in like the only idea we gave you was the theme of kind of the coloring
Yeah.
to go by, you know what I mean? So that was all you, which is, you know, I love it. I think it's fucking awesome. But
Not that I won't do pet portraits, by the way.
hopefully we make it big enough to the point where we can help you as well, because that's another thing that I enjoy doing
Vice
myself.
versa too.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like if that happens, like I know so many awesome artists that I would love to put on a spotlight, because there's no reason they shouldn't be on a spotlight to me.
Honestly.
Yeah. Like you're professional to me. Like your art is that fucking good to me. I think it's amazing.
She is one.
Yeah.
Definitely.
There's no reason why it shouldn't be. And you know, there's a lot of musicians and a lot of artists that I know that are on that same level, and it's interesting how you realize once you get to a point that it has a lot more to do with who you know than how good you are per se.
And your stubbornness to just continue doing it.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I agree. Like, a lot of people are already talented that if they were presented with the opportunity to just like blow up, they would.
Yeah.
But I think aside from having the talent to do that, is the most important thing is like connecting with people, being friends with people, not using them, and just having, you know what I'm talking about.
Single pointed.
Single.
Yeah, single
Being
pointed.
bullheaded about it.
Yeah.
Tenacity.
Were your parents supportive of your artistic endeavor?
Yeah, they were supportive. Yeah, I was lucky that they, like, my mom went to college for a little bit and she was also very artistic. My dad was very artistic also, even though he doesn't do like paint or make music. He's
a photographer.
he does
He's a
like, he
photographer.
goes on these walks and he takes photos. He's creative in his own right, even if he doesn't like give himself credit of it.
Right.
He has an eye for it. But yeah, they were very supportive.
They both know you're talented.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good, because I feel like sometimes, or from I guess my personal experience, early on it was always seen as a hobby and never seen as a thing that I was really going to pursue.
Yeah.
It took a while for
Even from your family.
yeah,
Yeah.
like my mom, and she's over there right now. It's like she'd probably be like, no, of course not, but no, for sure. Like at first they were thinking it was more of a hobby, a fad. And then
Yeah.
it wasn't until I was probably doing it for, 7 years that they were, at least my
Like,
mom
oh,
was
I
like,
get it now.
now it's, yes, they're
Yeah.
doing, like, they've been doing it for so long, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that's cool though. And also too, not to compare or anything like that, but
That was
I
good.
think I'm the first person in my family to really pursue like an artistic endeavor or do it regularly basically. So it's cool that you come from a background where your parents are kind of artistic as well, you know?
Yeah, my mom wanted to be a writer, and my grandma was an artist too. She is now technically, but she's like a registered nurse also. So like, everyone has their own journey, and getting support is so important to achieve your
Yeah,
goal as an artist.
definitely.
So she didn't receive that, so I'm fortunate that I did.
Right. Does she ever talk, like, does she tell you that she's glad that you're pursuing it and that she wants you to? Because she never got that?
Yeah. She's
Yeah.
She's
very
a fan.
supportive.
Yeah.
Very, very supportive.
yeah.
That's good.
So
It's-
I made a self-portrait of mine in school, and she's like, I want to buy that.
Oh,
Yeah. Very sweet.
Yeah, it was very nice.
that's cool. That's great, man. Because I feel like sometimes people, or rather parents, don't understand how important it is to actually tell your child or whatever, like, hey, I believe in you, man. You
Yeah, a
know?
lot of parents don't get that being nice to your children is important.
Unfortunately.
Fucking shit, dude.
Let's talk about our parents, guys.
I'll back up a little bit though. Is like with the social media and hardships of being an artist.
Yeah.
What, after all, and dealing with that, what still motivates you to do the art?
I just like doing it. Like, sometimes I'll, like, since I use Instagram, all of the people that I follow are artists or drag queens, but they're like, but yeah, I'll just be perusing, I'll see something that is really exciting to me, and I'm like, damn,
And you were like,
I
okay.
need to get to work, don't I?
Mhm.
And I think it's also important too that like when I experience that, I don't beat myself up for it. I just appreciate it for what it is, and I'm like, what can I take from that, from liking their artwork, and what can I incorporate into my own thing?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Technology is, I mean, the fact that we have this, it's extremely advantageous. The only problem is that it's super saturated.
Yeah.
But if we can find a way to kind of put our stuff out there and get somewhat noticed, it's quite amazing that you can do that from your home, for example.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's why it's important to just continue doing it
Yeah.
despite shitty people.
So what are your goals then with art, for example?
I just want to be self-sufficient, like, and that can be whatever that means. Like, if I got a good gig being represented by a gallery, then that's what it is.
Right.
Or if I continue doing Patreon, which
Sorry, not to cut you off. So what exactly would that entail, being represented by a gallery?
So sometimes you can participate, or like a gallery will host your paintings and they'll show them. They of course have to take a cut, which sometimes that relationship is parasitic, but they take a cut and they get a portion, you get a portion. But
from the sales that you make?
yeah.
Okay.
Like a big cut.
Yeah,
Big
basically,
cut.
well sometimes, but
Oh, I guess, yeah.
like sometimes it can be 50-50, which is fucking insane to
Yeah.
me. Sometimes it's 70-30, which is a little bit more fair, in my opinion. But
Right.
but yeah, they basically do marketing and advertising for you, and they host. There's like a reliable place that people can go and see your art. Like strangers that have no idea about you can go
But
and
they
see your art.
know the venue, for example. Like they're familiar with the like the actual gallery itself, and they know,
Yeah.
oh, there's always good stuff here. So that is the incentive to go there and possibly purchase
Yeah.
art, for example.
Yeah, so like there's art collectors and stuff like that, and art collectors usually are rich old people who have tons of money to blow. So like they go to these places and they
Right.
buy art. So yeah.
I'm curious. This just popped in my head, but I'm curious to hear what you think about some of the art that's sold at such a high price, but it's so simplistic and non-technical.
Get the money and run, dude.
Like, I've heard people say that they think that that's money laundering.
Yeah, well, it's not. They're not the audience for it. Now, are they?
Yeah.
Like, obviously, you weren't going to buy that.
Some people just want to buy a doodle for $1 million.
Yeah, and they're entitled to do that.
Yeah.
Right.
And I applaud for that doodler for being fortunate to
Yeah.
find
Right.
that. Yeah, like,
So you're totally. So if someone, for example, gets a name for themselves somehow, I don't know how this typically happens. I'm not familiar at all with this kind of thing, but without really having the chops per se, you think that's totally cool.
yeah. I mean,
Interesting.
yeah, everyone.
That doesn't make you feel at all like, why would I work so hard on the technique that I have? How
I'm not immune to that, but like, also, it's like, that's so cool. Like, I think too that sometimes the people that like their art aren't going to like my art. Like, they have a different vibe going on in their living room. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Mhm.
So, you know, it's whatever.
You're not a bitter person.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, too, like, sometimes, like, I've been trying to get comfortable raising my prices a little bit because I do spend so much time and
Right.
energy just doing one thing, one commission or personal project at a time, like,
I've watched you put a 40-hour week into one piece.
or more.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it makes sense to expect a 40-hour.
Yeah, a 40-hour paycheck.
Yeah.
Right.
If
paycheck.
you're lowballing it is $1,000, right? And
Right.
that's $8,000 for 40 hours is very sad.
Right.
So
No, I get that.
Yeah.
I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
You know.
So, just depends.
Mhm.
So like, to continue your question though, but like some people just charge less and put less time into it, and that's completely fine. They are probably more business savvy than me.
Maybe.
So
Well, it's just again, there's comparable things in music where the artists themselves might not be good per se at their instrument, but they have like this weird following or something that a more technical band might not have.
yeah.
And even to the point where the music itself, in my opinion, isn't interesting at all. It's very
Goodness is so subjective though, because like something that I think is like shitty could be somebody's like that they can be all about that. They could
Right.
like it for a whole multitude of reasons too. That doesn't have to be just beautiful. Artwork doesn't have to be beautiful. They could like it because how it makes them feel, what it makes them think about, if they think it's funny,
right.
even
Mhm.
like a shitty little doodle for $1 million. Like, damn, that's a good joke.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, like almost like fuck you to the person that thought that this was like
Yeah, and
Awesome.
I like that too because it's almost like it's anti art establishment. It's like, yeah, you went to grad school, didn't you? Well, I doodled on this copy paper
yeah.
and it's more than your house.
That's true because because there are, I guess, there's a lot of contradicting statements in that, because I think I totally understand what you're saying, because there are those snobs, like those music snobs that, for example, will say jazz is the only music, it's the fucking like the end all be all.
If it doesn't include the entire scale, I'm not into it.
Yeah, exactly right. So there are those people out there, and I'm not one of those people at all. It's more of, for me personally, when the music itself isn't unique. That's it for me. So like, for example, let's say art was something that was drawn was unique but simple, I would be like, yes. And it's also my opinion, right? It's not like my
Yeah.
opinion has no gravity or anything like that. But in music, for example, if I hear a band and you can tell they're not very good, like on their instrument, and also they're not doing anything unique, then I'm completely turned off to what they're doing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because not only are you not good at what you're doing, but you're also just ripping off someone else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They just don't have a voice yet, or maybe they never will. But
Right.
yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
There is mediocre art out there, but whatever.
Yeah. I'm sure. Obviously, there's with any art medium, I'm sure there's
Yeah.
tons of that.
Being
shit.
shocking rather than mediocre, being shocking is much preferable, at least to me.
So, do you find yourself now being older than when you first started? Obviously, do you find yourself now when you were a child?
Time has progressed.
Time has progressed since the beginning of this conversation. Do you find yourself now looking to, like, do you have a bigger catalog of artists that you look for inspiration?
Yeah, definitely. I think going to art school has made me better. Who would have
Who
thought?
would have thunk?
It's like people go there for a reason. But yeah, definitely I have, like, recently I've been looking at a lot of medieval to around the 1600s, like the artists of that time period. Like, have you ever seen a woodblock cut illustration in a fairy tale book, and the drawing is so goofy and weird? Like medieval art in general, it looks so weird. The proportions are so
I
weird.
have to see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll throw some up.
Let me
Yeah.
look it up right now while you keep talking.
Okay, but yeah, I've been into that recently, like Holbein or Albert Dürer. that whole genre. I'm really into it.
So is that something that you're, for example, kind of like you're taking inspiration from that now, and you're drawing that yourself, kind of?
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay.
Like recently I did a painting of a medieval jester proposing to a royal lady, and the royal lady's like walking a raccoon.
Like that kind of stuff?
Yeah, like that's insane. That's so weird. It's a knight slaying an alligator.
That is weird. It looks like a dragon.
Can I see
They
it?
sure were
Yeah,
trying to draw
here.
a dragon, weren't they?
You should probably put that up too,
Yeah,
Darren,
I'll
if you
put that
can.
up.
I'll save it and send it to you.
Yeah, but yeah, I just like it. I like it.
Oh my god.
So the music of that time too was probably like a lot of what
Pipes and
pipes and stuff.
flutes and
Oh, what's that weird instrument? The
a hurdy-gurdy.
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 Was that the same time period?
No.
No. Okay.
I don't know when it comes from, but
Not that.
it's a little bit later, I think.
Oh, okay. But
Well,
big
yeah.
organs were a thing?
It feels like it is, though.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, like pipes and flutes and shit like that.
That's interesting.
What a weird time to be alive.
I know.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like a weird time also to be creative. Like it would be so strange to see what kind of creative minds were there at the time. Like what was considered unique at that time, because there had to have been people that were doing unique things, you know.
Definitely. I think art has changed so much throughout like the couple hundred years that like back then doing a self-portrait was like, what are you doing? You can't immortalize yourself. That's ungodly.
Yeah.
Huh.
It was more elitist back then, like way more elitist.
To draw yourself.
Yeah, it was
Really?
like I think it was Holbein, don't quote me, but Holbein was the first one that did like, or at least among the first ones to do like a self-portrait, and he made himself look like Christ, and people were like, what?
That is a statement, though.
It's-
Like Jesus.
Like leave it to an artist to paint themselves as Jesus.
I wonder what he thinks of himself.
Who knows?
Yeah.
He's like,
I don't think it was explicit enough.
Right.
He's like, I really like wine, so.
So nowadays, and I feel like, Darren, I don't know if you have questions to ask.
I had one more, but you're good. Go ahead.
I've kind of been
No, I
taken
like
over here, but
good.
Hog.
question interview hog. So nowadays, do you feel like there's art coming out? I don't know how like close to the fire you are in terms of what's coming, like what new stuff is coming out, but do you see a new genre of art or a new style of art being created? I have no idea.
Yes and no, because since like this is like the first era in general, let alone art, where we have the internet at such a large and global scale. So like before, artistic movements were kind of insular. Like you'd have an artistic movement going on in New York, and that would define a decade. And whereas now it's like there are so many people doing so many things at once, picking from so many different sources because it's so readily available that there are definitely trends that go on because the algorithm favors it.
Right.
But there's just so much going on at the same time that it's hard to definitively pinpoint what kind of stylistic movement it is, but you can like determine what it is just based on like the decade and how global events have influenced it. You know what I'm talking about? Like the internet.
Is art cyclical like music has been?
I feel like it is. Because right now we're in like, for instance, in like the 80s, the like, you know, the modernist movement, how it was like an an aluminum cube in a blank white room, and people were like, yes, amazing. There was no like human figures painted during that time because people weren't interested in painting humans at that time. But now it's sort of like a renaissance of painting people again. It's pretty cool.
That's interesting.
Very fortunate for me.
Yeah. You're like, that's my
I can't
forte.
wait until it falls out of favor. But yeah, there's trends that happen. Definitely.
Corporate art.
Oh yeah.
What's that?
Like,
Oh, you've seen it.
I have.
like you go to Google and on the Google title page it has some weird art that is in the shape of Google, the name.
Oh, right.
Yeah, it has like big people, little heads. They're like a primary color. They're like, they have noodly spaghetti arms. You've seen it. Yeah, there you go.
Oh, this is considered corporate art?
Corporate art.
Yeah, it's safe.
Yeah. But I don't know. I don't know if I would consider that like an artistic movement right now, rather than it is what corporations buy.
I feel
'Cause
like
I
I've
don't-
seen people do it just for like,
Well,
like their
I
thing.
don't know. I don't know who
It's
caused
interesting.
what is the thing. Like, did they start?
chicken
Did-
or the egg.
Yeah, did the corporations inspire this? I hope not, dear God. Or did corporations steal that art style because it was easily reproducible? You know what I mean?
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, I think the corporations, they're just hiring people that are, I guess, talented enough to make what they want. You know what I mean?
Talented.
Because they fucking know what's like the easy and simple thing to do.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with music. I mean, these record labels and stuff like that, they know what the fuck.
Talented people
want.
who are desperate for money and willing and able to work within a time crunch that is unreasonable.
Right. Well, do you know who David Cho is?
The name's familiar. I don't.
So he's that Asian artist that got rich off of making a mural for Facebook.
Yeah.
And
Does he have a show now?
yes, which is
Yeah,
awesome,
that's-
by the way.
Okay,
I
yeah.
don't know if you've
Oh,
seen
wow.
it, but it's fucking amazing.
I've seen Anthony Bourdain interview him. I think.
Oh, really?
I think that was him.
Stu.
Yeah, possibly.
Yep.
But he. So whatever, I'll just his background. So he took, instead of taking money from them, he took a share of Facebook, which ended up becoming like tons of money, obviously.
Influenced by his parents.
But he was, he's an interesting character, and I don't even remember why I brought him up, but I think it was more of like it seems like the kind of art that he makes is super weird and it's interesting to me.
Yeah, it's
You know
not
what I
cookie
mean?
cutter.
Yeah, exactly, right. And Facebook is one of the biggest corporations there is, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He'd probably be against
Don't you
that
mean
kind of
Meta?
stuff. What's that?
Don't you mean meta?
Oh, is it Meta now?
It's about to be.
Yeah.
Everyone needs a PR change to escape their flaws.
Yeah. Ironically, we'll be posting this on Facebook or Meta or whatever the fuck it's called.
Or speaking directly to you, Zuckerberg.
So
Yeah, dude. Don't ban me, dog.
Fuck you.
I see memes like that all the time, like only bans instead of OnlyFans. That's the new name for Facebook, only bans.
Yep.
I'll go back to the question you said about future goals.
Mm-hmm.
You were talking about if the one thing doesn't work out, then maybe Patreon. Then
Patreon. So Patreon, for those who don't know, is people can basically give you money every month, and they get benefits that you determine based on each tier. So if, like, for instance, on my Patreon, $10 a month, you get stickers whenever I make new stickers, and then you get a tiny little piece of artwork for $10 a month.
3x3, right?
Yeah, like a tiny little thing. Depends on what I want to do, but it's at least 3x3, and each month I send that to them. But a lot of people some people make a lot of money on Patreon, and it's really cool. I think it's really great for making a community of people who enjoy your artwork, and they can comment on your stuff, they can interact with each other, and I think it would be cool to make a little community on there. Yeah.
What are your other tiers?
I have a $1 tier. You get to see what I post on Patreon. I have a $5 tier, so you get stickers whenever I release them. $35, you get like a significantly sized piece of artwork. As well as the other benefits too, and there are other tiers other than that, but those are the main ones that are popular. Yeah.
So would you consider being self-sufficient as being successful in art?
Yeah, I would.
Like so for example, let's say it doesn't happen, right? Would you then go, I wasn't successful?
No, but it would be nice.
Yeah. I personally,
I know what I got.
Right.
Just because other people don't like it or have the money to give to me to pay my rent doesn't mean anything. I know what I am.
That's good. I don't have that same sentiment for myself.
Well, I feel like y'all's goals are really similar though. Like you don't want to be famous.
No.
You're not trying to be famous. You're just trying to live on what you love.
Yeah.
Just because the same way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to be my own boss. I don't want anybody telling me what to do.
Right.
Basically, other than me.
Yeah.
Because I know best. Damn it.
It's. There's always the fear for me that, things won't happen that way, and then you end up having to work the day job for the rest of your life. For me personally. Yeah. And then if that were to happen at that point, I feel like at the end of my run, I'd go, well, damn, I wasn't successful in what I was trying to do. You know what I mean?
But the great thing about like the age that we live in now is that we can just release it onto the internet and it's forever.
Yeah.
So like at least for artists, there's this thing where if you die, people are like, they were so great.
Right.
They were so amazing.
So what you're saying is we should kill ourselves.
I'll say that to the end of the video. That'll be a big closer.
Guys,
that's up for
stay tuned.
That's up for the viewer to decide.
Elliot cocked the gun.
But really, like, yeah, I accept that if I tragically die in a skydiving accident or die
that.
Yep, just that.
Scheduled for next week.
Yep. Or if I die when I'm old and I suddenly then get famous, then I'm going to appoint someone as head of my estate, and they are gonna handle that.
Right.
Yeah, they're gonna handle that.
Right. Is there in art? Is there kind of the same weirdness about age? Like there is in music. So for example, a younger band or whatever artist will get more. They'll kind of get popular a little easier than like an older band.
I feel like it's almost the opposite because like a young person, people don't want to give chances to a young person, a young artist, because they're not taken seriously, whereas an old person doing it, it's like, wow, this person's a master. Even
that's so interesting.
Whereas like with like a band, you have to physically be there performing, and they get to look at you, and people are very superficial.
Yes.
They're like, they want a good looking person to sing a song.
Yeah, right. Yeah, they there's like this weird thing where if you're old and doing it, it's kind of sad. Rather than it being like, it's almost seen as if it's a child's game to play rather than it's just an art being performed.
Yeah, like you have a decade to do it.
Right.
You better do it.
There's a timeline.
Yeah.
That's cool though. I'm glad to hear that at least. I don't know if you enjoy that, but
yeah, well.
Are you saying like, well, I'd rather be able to get there now than wait till I'm older?
Yeah.
Well, you're going to be doing it later too, though.
Right.
Yeah,
it's a positive.
Yeah, I'm not worried about that.
Yeah.
So, that's good.
It's like, I'll still be doing it.
I'll still be here, whether or not people are watching.
Well, Jaren, do you have any other questions, bro?
Yes, my love.
Broski Woski?
I've been pushing
Let's see. I didn't have any more prepared, but
How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I love this.
Yeah.
This is fun.
Yeah.
So I don't think we've really gone in depth about it, and I'd be interested to know. Do you find like recurring images or recurring themes that you work with appearing more often now that you've had these decades with your art? And do you find that there's like you're finding meaning within your own art now that you've spent so much time with it and you've done so much reflection through college and stuff?
I think so. I used to make art. Sorry.
You can burp
I
into
used-
the mic.
I used to make art, and I'd like make one piece of art be its own thing, and then I'd move on to something and it'd be drastically different. But I think now that I've like gone through school, I'm more comfortable having an idea or like a particular type of image, you know what I'm talking about? And doing that a few times to like actually satisfy the need for the artwork. You know what I mean? Whereas before, I feel like I was more insecure and I had to keep it fresh and new, and I had to move on from one thing to the other just to play all the fields basically.
Mhm.
Whereas now, like I know more of what I like to do.
Yeah. No like one meaning that you're like further refining or like further exploring?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have other mediums besides, let's say, an artist that you enjoy? But are there any other mediums of, let's say, art or maybe just things that happen personally in your life that will inspire an idea?
Like other than art?
Yeah. Well, I guess like maybe like the medium of music, for example, or maybe a movie or a book that you're reading or something.
Probably movies, because it's also visual. I know a lot of people, they love to listen to music as they do artwork, and it's not that I don't, but I just don't tend to.
What do you listen to?
I listen to murder podcasts.
Murder podcast.
Like true crime, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And drag queens.
Yep.
Like drag queen shows.
Everything.
Yeah.
Or like podcasts
Yeah.
and stuff. That's funny.
But yeah, I think movies is what really gets me. I love like the certain camera angles and like special effects that they do, especially like with older movies before CGI and stuff like that.
Right. Where they
Like
had to
the
kinda-
like animatronics.
right.
Super
awesome.
creative.
Yeah.
I'll say that for myself. Like I used to watch movies a lot when I was living back in Miami, and then it just a period where I stopped for a long time. I think it's just because of the time commitment to it, which is ironic because when I watch a show, usually I'll sit there for like 2 or 3 hours watching a show,
Yeah.
but it doesn't make any sense. I think it's maybe like the cut in
the fact
between
that
or
it's little
something.
bite-sized.
Yeah, it's got to be what it is. But I've recently been going back to watching movies again, and I saw Blade Runner, the first and second one, like literally back to back, and it kind of reminded me of why I loved watching movies as a younger person, because of the aesthetic of the movie and the visual, the kind of visual stuff that you see in the second one.
feeling.
Right. For me, that's a huge part of the movie, besides the story and the plot line. But I love the cinematic, like the view and the kind of lighting that they use and stuff like that. To me, it's a huge part of it, and it's kind of nice to get back into that. You know what I mean?
I'm the same way, because usually when I watch something, and it could be anything that I'm watching, I'll do art while I'm watching it. So I'm always looking down, doing whatever. So, and I'm mostly like listening to it, and I'll periodically look up. So like a character dialogue is not high on my priority list.
Right.
It has to look cool.
Right. Yeah. That's
Or like a movie that I'm just familiar with.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. One. I hope I get the opportunity to make music for something like that. I feel like that would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
You know, just I feel like I have I know what would sound right for a specific thing. I feel like I write music in that sense too, where a theme
Like
to
a
me,
cinematic
yeah,
experience. A
Yeah.
soundscape.
right. If I'm driving down the highway and the lights look a specific way or something, I feel like that
You're
could
like
inspire a
synth.
song. Yeah, right. Like, dun, 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 you know, whatever it is. I feel like I've always been like that since I've started writing. But
Yeah.
I have
It's
a closing
interesting.
question.
Go for it.
So this is one of my favorite questions for artists. What would you say to someone who's maybe a little bit older or given up on their artistic passion to encourage them to get back into it?
I think anything is better than nothing, even if it's like you have a sketchbook and you just do a little doodle.
Let's say that they're really insistent though, and they just don't believe in themselves, and they don't think that it's worth getting back into.
Then you've already lost, my dude. You just need to continue doing something that makes you happy despite what other people's reaction to it. You need to continue doing something that is your own personal enjoyment. It can be like a secret for yourself and only you.
Yeah.
And you don't need to share it with other people for it to be special or good.
It reminds me of when we went to somebody recently died that we know, and we went to his house. We were helping his brother, and his brother was trying to clear the house out, and we were helping him out. And I was looking through some journals. I didn't know they were journals, but I opened it up, and there was a journal page. And I don't think this was shared with anybody, that there was a piece of art in there of a shadow, and underneath it said, "A shadow and myself, sometimes I don't know the difference."
Damn, that's
And-
deep as fuck.
I know, and like that wasn't for anybody, it wasn't sold, but damn was it profound. And
Yeah.
like to be in this man's house and to just catch this like moment of probably deep reflection from this person, and having a creative outlet for that person might have meant a lot for them, even if they didn't sell it or if it wasn't
Definitely.
successful.
I think the idea that like money or art has to be always sold for some monetary gain is like, it's paralyzing. It's awful, and it's so reductive too. Like you can make anything, and if you enjoy doing it, then it has value.
Yeah.
It's just hard period.
So basically, just do it.
Yeah, just do it.
Just do it.
I think that's a good thing to end on. Is
Yeah.
if you're enjoying doing it, it has
Yeah.
value.
And if they don't like it, fuck them. They're stupid.
I think humans should create. I mean, like, just interact with your experience. You
Yeah.
know, do something about it.
Definitely.
Yeah, express yourself.
Yeah.
To me, that's the greatest thing about human beings, besides all the other bullshit that we do or whatever, is the fact that if you can create and add something artistically, emotionally, or whatever to this world, I think that is the greatest thing. Even if you're a homeless person, even if you make no money, even if none of that, if you're at least creating, if you're putting something into the world like that comes from yourself, I find that to be like you're doing something special. You know what I mean?
It is special.
Yeah. Because otherwise, if you're just taking up space and you're just doing finance. Sorry, finance guys that listen to this podcast, then
It's like my
go fuck
paint
yourself.
on the weekend.
Who knows, too? You might know a way to express an experience that somebody else doesn't. And I've learned a lot from how other people relate to the world through their art.
it's a nice gift to pass on too. Like I had, I think my great grandmother, she would just paint little paintings just for nobody. There's like this one painting that I had for a while of like bluebirds, baby bluebirds in a nest, and they're like cawing at their mother for food. And you know, she wasn't an artist, but I think it was a good painting, and it was special, and I've never seen a painting like that before.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So it's like something that lives on beyond your death. Like people who have never met you before or and will never meet you can see your artwork and be like, wow,
that's pretty dope.
they liked birds.
and on that note, thank you so much for coming on and talking with us.
Oh my God, this hat.
We appreciate you guys, and peace.
Bye. Happy Halloween.